Welcome back to House of Footy, guys. We're gonna finish off the group stages predictions with Group H. Group G and H. And firstly, we're gonna go with Group G, which is made up of Cameroon, Brazil, Switzerland, and Serbia. And so I just want to mention that Cameroon did qualify through basically an away goal against Algeria. Brazil were winners of the South American group qualification group. Switzerland winners of Group C, and Serbia winners of Group A. So still a lot of group winners there. Mac, I guess let me get your thoughts on this group.
I feel very similarly. I know it's tough to compare. Well, it's kind of easy to compare actually. This group with Argentina's group, where it seems like it's an easy tune-up for them. They have a couple of teams that are stiffer competition, but they should still comfortably see them out. I think everyone's looking at Brazil to easily come out and perform very, very well. Um, and the real competition comes down between Switzerland and Serbia. Who's kind of the runners up? Who's the second place? Who's the team that's gonna the other team that's gonna make it into the knockout rounds? I think that's what everyone's looking at here, and I think that's completely fair. Um, I do think that though Brazil wants to be able to, just as Gio highlighted earlier, and I thought was a great point, is they do want to stamp their authority early on in these games. Where if they're coming out and winning 2 to 3 nothing in all three of these games, they're going to be seen as much more of a threat, and they're going to be able to feel confident going into those knockout rounds, right? So I think it's very important for them to be able to perform well, and to come out the gates hot and firing on all cylinders, because they're definitely one of the favorites to win the tournament all the way through. But similarly to you, Joe, what's your overarching thoughts of this group?
I think again, very similar to what you had to say. I think this is gonna be Brazil's really tune up. I think there's gonna be a lot of we'll see a lot of lineup switches. I feel throughout the stage just to see what works best um from Brazil. I think obviously they'll dominate. And it's just a really like other than one guarantee that I can say is Brazil topping the group, the rest of it seems like a top like a toss up to me. No, like, rankings aside, I don't see one heavy favorite to clear um second place team. I think Cameroon again, um off off pace and athleticism, and that's what we see a lot from these African sides is their pace and athleticism do afford them to win a lot of these games. And I can definitely see them squeezing out a win, say for example against Switzerland. So if they can have a good result against Brazil, or a draw, or even a good result against Serbia, them being ranked 43rd doesn't mean anything. So I think it's an absolute toss up. If I had to pick a team, um, I would pick Serbia, simply because they have that guy, and that guy's name is Alexander Mitrovic, who is built for moments, and he loves scoring goals. So can he win a game or two for Serbia? I think he absolutely could. Say against a Switzerland, and Cameroon. I don't think he's scared of anyone. So yeah, it would be an interesting group in terms of seeing who comes second.
Hey, as you guys are mentioning, I just looked at when Serbia and Switzerland face each other, and that's actually the last group game for Group G. Which, hey, I'm picturing it right now. Both teams need a win to qualify. It's gonna be Granit Xhaka and Alexander Mitrovic battling it out in the box. Hey, man, that's yet another game and matchup that I'll be very, very interested in watching. But no, definitely Serbia up front, Mitrovic, Vlahovic, who hasn't had the best run of form for Juventus, but he still has quality. So you have the likes of those two attackers, Luka Jovic as well, who former Real Madrid player, even Illich, who just came back as well. So hey, a lot of talent for Serbia and Switzerland. Very, very good. I like to think of them similar to Denmark or Croatia, where I don't think there's really a standout player, but these guys are hey, these guys know how to play the game, and they always produce great performances in the World Cup. So very, very fun to watch those. Those will be very fun watching those teams. Cameroon, don't think they have the quality that these teams do have. But hey, Brazil, man, it's gonna be Brazil, Argentina, and that's gonna be a close game in that semifinal. Sorry, is it quarterfinal or semifinal?
If they both
That
finish first, they'll meet in the semifinals. If they win
Oh
out, of
man,
course. But that's
that's
going ahead of
actually
ourselves.
gonna be
We'll save that. I love the take. I do want to say for Cameroon though, the one thing that they do have going for them is the support of Samuel Eto'o, because he predicted them to be in the finals facing Morocco. I don't know if you guys saw his bracket. It was absolutely
yeah,
hilarious.
that's
Well, pure legendary commentary. I do want to ask though for Brazil. I feel like the weakest part of the team, I think we can all agree, are probably their wide backs. Danilo and Alex Telles are slated to start in between, of course, Thiago Silva and Marquinhos again. But my question more so is actually their midfield. What is their midfield three that they're going to be playing? Because I think we can all be on the same page. They're going to play with the front three with Neymar, Antony on one side, and either Richarlison or Gabriel Jesus striker, right? But their midfield three, a lot of reports have it's going to be Casemiro and Fred, Man United legends. And then in front of them is Lucas Paqueta, right? In kind of a number 10 position. So I'll be interested to see. Do you think that's how they line up and they don't play Bruno Guimaraes at all? He's not in the lineup in the starting 11? That's my question. How would you guys structure that midfield? Or do you do something saucy and put Neymar as a 10? Or what would you do differently, I guess I would say.
uh,
Right?
I have. I don't know, man. I would have to play Guimaraes just based on his form. Uh, I can sort of see why they would leave him out and have more of a, I guess, box to box, if you want to classify Fred as someone who's just gonna give you work rate, so that obviously Neymar is gonna get a lot on the ball, Paqueta is gonna be a lot on the ball, and they're gonna be very much stepping on each other's toes. But I think Guimaraes has to start for Brazil. What do you think, Gio?
Um, it's. I think again, Ray is correct here. Based on sheer form, it's hard to not start him. I think the odd ones out might have to be Fred and Paqueta. But you do have to. But you the only guarantee midfielder I can see here is going to be Casemiro. But can I say that you can leave out Guimaraes? No, but I think again, whether they start, Fred early or they start Paqueta early, again, them being so dominant in this group affords them the time to sort of figure things out. Which again, they will. They just have so much talent on the squad that we aren't used to seeing, especially in the midfield. In the past years, who haven't really been dominant. You know, offensively, they've always been offensively gifted. But again, yeah, no, I would start Gamerish first to see what he can do, and if he struggles, fine, so be it. Then you'll then you'll just rotate another guy in.
On that note, though, Mac, I'm very, very disappointed in you that you didn't mention the boy Vinicius Jr. I think actually a front three of Vinicius on the left, Neymar down the middle, and actually, based on how Richarlison has been playing for the national team, I think he's gonna get the start on the right.
No,
Doesn't make sense. You could argue it doesn't make sense, but you can't leave out Vinicius, I think, and Neymar obviously is going to start. So I think maybe even just toss up between Anthony and Richarlison. What do you think, Mac?
I that's interesting. I like that, and if I'm playing FIFA, let's be honest with you, that's probably the lineup I'm
Hey.
rolling it minus Richarlison. That he's not seen a pitch, but I feel like Neymar and Vinicius just do so much of the same thing, and they kind of take up the same places on the pitch. It's tough for me to envision them being on the field at the same time and performing very very well. That's why. As well as with the form Gabriel Jesus in terms of pressing, being able to win back the ball up top, he has that little bit of an extra gear. I think that's probably the difference in my opinion. But I do like that, and that was going to be my next question. Actually, is if that's the lineup, if we have Gabriel Jesus starting as striker, and let's assume Anthony on the right hand side, so he'd be able to cut out on that foot. I wonder what role Vinicius plays then at that point. Is he just a sub? Does he overtake maybe Anthony on that right hand side, but he really is only really featured on the left, just like Neymar is really only featured on the left? So even though I feel like, and I think we can all agree, this is one of the best teams in world football, there are still some questions in terms of their lineup because they have that type of a lot of quality, but it's not as seamless as a fit. So their coach Tite still has tough decisions to make, in my opinion, to be able to start out. As well as, I'll be honest with you, if I'm him, even though Thiago Silva has the experience, I might even would have moved past him in this tournament, to be honest. Given his recent run of form for Chelsea, they're not playing great. He's not helping them. And Eder Militao is phenomenal. So I don't know. Again, for me, one of the like I said, probably the deepest squad, if not one of the deepest squads in world football. But they still have questions.
Okay. Lastly, just wanted to mention before we move on, any last comments, Gio, but also Rodrigo on the right hand side. Obviously, he's been a super sub for Real Madrid, but hey, he can also. I think I would take him as a super sub ahead of Rafinha on the right hand side, just based on the way he's been performing for Real Madrid. What do you think, Gio?
Yeah, no, I think I would. I mean, again, if you were to use your same logic in terms of run of form and been in the moment type players, then yeah, you have to go with Rodrigo. I don't think Rafinha has really, you know, sort of established himself over at Barca. So no, I would definitely go with Rodrigo. Although, you know, a lot will argue that Rafinha is the better player. I just think once you give Rodrigo the assignment, I feel like he's just a player who understands it, and that's the type of role he plays at Real Madrid. So yeah, for him to do that at the club, at the national level, I don't think would be an issue for him at all.
Incorrect. The answer would have been Gabriel Martinelli. He's the one in best form out of all of them. Disrespect. Sorry.
Hey man, you try to sneak him in there. I rate the effort, but hey, I don't know how much he's gonna feature in this tournament. But hey, he got called up, so we'll definitely see how that Brazil team does. So let's wrap it up with Group H. Geo, definitely I think a team that sorry, a group that you'll be watching. South Korea, Ghana, Uruguay, and Portugal. South Korea, of course, finished second in Group A of their qualification group. Ghana qualified through on away goals against Nigeria. Uruguay finished third in the South American qualification, and Portugal, UEFA playoff winners, Path C, after beating North Macedonia 2-0. So, Gio, your thoughts on this group?
Again, my clear favorite here is Portugal, but again, like I said, this group can also be touted as a group of death just because you know the almost the volatility of this group makes it almost a group of death. You just don't know how any team is gonna perform. I think again Portugal is the favorite, but you can't really count out Uruguay. I think they have a pretty decent attack. Again, if you can get a good start from Darwin Nunez, it's gonna be a good tournament for them. They have great leadership in terms of experienced players. Cavani, Luis Suarez, who's been there, done that, and they get to face Ghana again. And we all know what happened in 2010. So interesting. And then again with this Ghana side, they weren't convincing in terms of qualifiers the entire way out. But with the additions of course, a Thomas Partey and Tariq Lamptey, those guys who sort of almost chose Ghana to be able to play in the World Cup. Those additions, we're gonna see how they really kind of mesh in with the team as well. So who's to say that they can't spark the team and have a decent tournament? Again, these African teams, size and pace is what they're bred on, and how they dominate games. So yeah, I think the weakest team of this group has to be South Korea. Obviously, Hyunmin Son, who's who's playing with the carbon fiber LeBron mask. I don't know if he's gonna channel his inner LeBron. I hey, I don't know how he's gonna do it. And then the other notable player um from South Korea is their defender who also plays on Napoli. And again, apart from that, I just can't see this team really dominating. Last World Cup, they were fortunate to face a very poor Germany, a struggling Germany side. But I don't really see, that type of that type of Germany team within this group.
Okay, fair, Mac.
it, I think this group is for me. I think I disagree in some ways actually in terms of South Korea being the weakest team in this group with Gio. I think Ghana's probably edging out, but I think this might be the most even group top to bottom for me of all the teams. Where I don't think there's much that separates between them. Where obviously I think Portugal is in a tier above, but the rest of the three teams I could argue are in roughly maybe the same tier in terms of likelihood to be able to qualify. The odds play that out that they're very closely lined up between the three teams to potentially qualify out of the group stage. Of course, with Portugal being the favorite to win the group. I really could see any scenario with any permutation of finish first or second from this group. And would I be absolutely astounded or shocked? No, I may be surprised, but it wouldn't be groundbreaking for me because all those teams have qualities that they alone possess in a lot of ways. I guess, want to be able to start off with the likelihood to be able to finish first, Portugal. Them having an injury with Diego Jota, I think that's a big miss for them, and probably the biggest miss from any of the teams in this group. So for me, though, this does clearly set the stage for Rafael Leao to be able to take on the world football at the World Cup. So I think he's going to be a very key player for them because he does carry that AC Milan team. Maybe not get as much press, especially I know like coming from us, focusing more on the Premier League as much as the world does, but he's a phenomenal player. Now with Jota out, I think, like I said, he is in all likelihood going to be starting on that left wing and has a really good opportunity to bang in some goals and create some opportunities for Ronaldo. But I guess back to you, Ray. What is your overarching thoughts for this group?
You know what? Are you guys ready for another hot take?
Oh, this is madness.
Oh, we love those. We love
Absolutely,
those.
absolutely.
Hey, Uruguay on paper have a decent team, and it's gonna definitely be an opportunity for the midfield two of Federico Valverde and Rodrigo Bentancur to stand out. But I just don't think they have enough. Uh, Obviously, Darwin Nunez, very unknown quantity up there. You got Luis Suarez and Cavani who are getting up there in age. At the back there, they have obviously have Jose Maria Jimenez, who plays for Atletico, but they have still and Sebastian Coates who plays in the Portuguese league, but they have the likes of Diego Godin who maybe he would have been good 10 years ago, and Ronald Araujo made the team even though he's been injured for a lot of the season for Barca. So I don't know. Actually, that those I guess uncertainties are giving me some doubt over Uruguay, and so I don't know. Maybe Korea and Ghana might be able to push through in that second spot with Portugal. But yeah, no, Portugal definitely will have a lot of eyes on them, uh, just based on the quality of their team, and honestly, how well Ronaldo will play with obviously all the stuff that's going
Very.
on in the background, all the stuff that's going on in the background. And honestly, he hasn't been playing much for obviously the Man U team recently. So I'm interested to see how they incorporate him because obviously he will play for Portugal, but I'm interested to see if they even try things without him at times. Mac.
And that's what I want to be able to speak to is that if we were to have the argument in terms of if we're basing team selections and teams people starting in the lineup on form, Ronaldo doesn't play for this team. That's what I would argue is that it's just because of his kind of his longstanding relationship and his historic performance for Portugal, all-time leading goal scorer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, has every applaud it. But if you look at this current team, could you make the argument if he's not in the starting lineup, are they a better team? Not necessarily maybe more of a threat. Of course, they don't have that star power. Cool, that's fine. But I think the argument is fair that they might be a better team without him. Of course, I think that there isn't a natural number 9 behind him that's kind of chomping at the bit as much. But in their attack sense, I would argue in their attacking front 5, he's their worst player. I would take Rafael, Bernardo Silva, Bruno Fernandes. All players are in better form and better position right now than him. So for me, he still, but that in a lot of ways that's good for Portugal and shows how much quality they do have. Where all these other players can be the best player on the pitch in a given day, and Ronaldo can just sneak in. So it'd be very, very interesting to see how they play out. And that's why, for me, the matchup of this group that I'm really looking at is the Portugal-Uruguay matchup, actually. Is that if either team, whichever team loses that, in my opinion, is going to be in a tough position to qualify. Because that's the second game, and going in right afterwards for Uruguay having to face Ghana in that tough matchup with that history, going to be very, very tough. And if Portugal are not already qualified, facing a South Korea team that's going to play in a low block and try to hit them on the counter, that could be a very interesting matchup. So that second game between Portugal and Uruguay is going to be key for either team, where they want to win it. So they're already can see themselves through out of the group stage and be a little bit more comfortable in the last group game, in my opinion.
Okay, yeah. I guess, Gio, any last thoughts before we wrap up this part of the podcast?
No, just let's just hope for a great performance from everyone.
Fair. So definitely, guys, we will obviously cover all the action that we see for this World Cup. We're gonna take one last break here, and then we'll be back with our live House of Footy World Cup bracket for the 2022 World Cup. So stay with us, guys.